Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. Today's video is going to be a little different from some of the other things that I've posted, and I'm sorry that I haven't made any content in a while. Things have been a little bit manic. This video is going to be a crochet tutorial. I'm going to show you guys how to make these really fun, super cute, very stretchable, and very soft scrunchies. I have two different types of scrunchies that we can make, but for this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to make this one. Before we jump into that, I'm going to show you guys the equipment we'll be needing in order to make the scrunchies, and I will also walk you through some important information that a lot of tutorials on YouTube most likely won't mention. Okay, so for equipment, you're going to need a 3.5mm crochet hook. You're going to need a hairband. You can use any size or color hairband of your choice. We are also going to need a wool working needle. If you don't have one of these, you can use a sewing needle, but it might be a little bit more tricky to thread the yarn through the sewing needle as the hole is a bit smaller. You will also need a pair of scissors and a yarn of your color choice. I normally use double knit yarn, which is for me very easy to work with. If you wanted to follow along with this tutorial, I'm going to give you a minute to gather the materials and the equipment that you need. Also, an important thing that I find very helpful is these little plastic clip things that you sometimes get in crochet kits. These are really good for place marking. So when you start a new row, you put the clasp thing that I'm holding onto the first stitch, so that when you've crocheted around and you get back to the little plastic thing that I'm holding, you know when you're starting a new row. I will show you how to use this. It's also helpful for when you need to take a break, so you can put it onto the stitch that's on your hook so that your work doesn't come apart. An important thing that a lot of tutorials most likely won't mention is that the size of your crochet hook and the level of tension that you put on your working yarn will also affect the size of your stitching. So when you're crocheting, you want to try and keep the same amount of tension on the yarn all the way through the piece. So you don't want to be putting too much tension on the working yarn, because that would mean some of your stitches might be smaller than others, and it can make the work a little bit messy. So it's important to remember to keep an eye on the tension of your working yarn. I'll show you a technique that I normally use, which helps me to better manage the tension on my working yarn. Something that I forgot to mention is that this tutorial is going to be beginner friendly. I'm going to walk you through everything step by step. Don't panic. Pause the video if you need to. So, to start with our scrunchie, we're going to take our hairband and our working yarn. Not our working yarn, our crochet hook. Slight mishap there. I'm going to be using this double knit yarn. I forget what brand it is, but it's one of my favorite yarns to work with. So to start off, you want to see which hand you feel most comfortable holding the crochet hook. If you have some experience of crocheting, you'll know this already. I'm going to show you how I like to hold my yarn. It's just the easiest way for me. So what I do is I'll lie my hand out in front of me like this. I bring my yarn up and over my 3 fingers so it goes under my index finger, and then I bring it back over the top of my index finger. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hairband, I'm going to pinch the end of my yarn between my middle and my middle finger and my thumb. I'm then going to use those same 2 fingers to hold the hairband whilst I'm holding my yarn. So I'm just going to walk you through that one more time. So I hand out like this, yarn over 3 under index finger, over the top. So you get something like this. And then you pinch the tail end of the yarn between your middle finger and your thumb, and we're going to hold the hairband with those same 2 fingers, keeping a tight hold on the tail end of that yarn. This means that my working yarn can move freely, and I should be able to keep the same amount of tension on my working yarn all the way through. Starting off the scrunchies can be a little bit fiddly, it's a little bit tricky, but it will work. We just have to have a bit of patience. If you get stuck, try again. Right, so I'm gonna be using single crochet for the first part of the scrunchie. So you can see on this one, we are literally just doing a single crochet stitch all the way around that hairband, and we're going to use that to cover the hairband. So to start off, I'm going to put my crochet hook through the hairband. I'm going to come round from the back to front and hook my yarn and pull it through the hairband so I get a loop on my hook. So I'm just going to show you that one more time. Hook through the hairband, come around, hook your yarn and pull it back through so you get a loop on your hook. Then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap our working yarn, which is this bit of yarn here over my finger, over our crochet hook, and then we're going to pull that bit of yarn on our hook through the loop on our hook. I'm just going to show you that one more time. So yarn over, under, over, pinch the hairband and the working yarn, hook through, hook your working yarn, pull it back through, and then hook your working yarn and pull it through the loop on your hook. Once you've done that, you should get a loop around the hairband and a loop on the hook. So this bit of yarn here that we can see hanging below the hairband, that's the tail. This long bit of yarn that we're working with is called the working yarn. We don't want this loop on our hairband to move, so I'm going to pull on the tail to tighten that loop so that it's not going to slide around or move out of place. And then I'm also going to pull on my working yarn to tighten the loop on my hook. Now I'm going to show you how I do my single crochet. So again, working yarn over 3 and under the index finger, and then over the index finger. You can see kind of how I'm holding it. Now to do a single crochet, we're going to put our hook inside the hairband. We're going to come from the front and hook our working yarn and pull it back through. Now that gives us 2 loops on our crochet hook. We're then going to hook our working yarn and pull that through both of the loops on our hook. This can be a little bit tricky, especially with the first couple of stitches. And you should get something a little bit like this. And that's how we do single crochet. I'm going to show you that a few more times, just so that you can more clearly see. So I'm going to put my hook through my hairband. I'm going to bring my hook around and pull my working yarn back through the hairband. I'm going to wrap my working yarn over my hook and pull it through the 2 stitches on my hook. You see there, we've got 2 single crochets on our hook, 2 single crochets on our hairband. And I can tell this because you should be able to see 2 little V's on the top of the hairband there. That is our single crochet. And you'll notice that when I'm doing this, I'm holding the tail end of my yarn against the hairband, so that as I crochet around, I'm hiding that tail into my work. So I'm going to show you one more time. So make sure you keep that tail pinched tight to the hairband. So hook through the hairband, hook the working yarn and pull it back through, hook the working yarn and pull it through the 2 loops on your hook. Now you should have done 3 single crochets. So I'm going to give you a second to pause the video, and we'll continue the next step once you've done 1 single crochet all the way around the hairband. So when you get back to this part where we first started, and I'll show you what that should look like in a second. Okay, so once you've done single crochet all the way around your hairband, you should have something like this. You shouldn't be able to see large amounts of the hairband because it should be hidden with the crochet. And the tail from when you first started should be hidden inside of your work. I'm now going to show you the next step for this crochet. So in the next row, we will do a slip stitch, and after the slip stitch, we will be working with double crochet. Okay, so on to the next step. So the first thing we're going to do before we start our next row is we're going to do a slip stitch. So to do this, we're going to look at the top of our work here where the V's are. So the side facing you is going to be the front, and the side away from you is going to be the back. So you don't want to go through the front loop or the back loop. To do it through the stitch, you want to put your hook through both of the loops, going in to our first single crochet here. This can be a little bit tricky, but all you have to do is press it against your finger and just kind of wiggle it through that first stitch. It's going to be a little bit difficult. Now, to do a slip stitch, we're going to wrap our working yarn over our crochet hook. We're going to pull that through. So just show you again. So you put your crochet hook through the first single crochet you did, wrap the working yarn over your hook, and then you gotta wiggle it back through that stitch, but you're also gonna want to pull it through the loop on your hook, and then pull on your working yarn gently to tighten it. And that's how we do a slip stitch. I'll just quickly do that again so I can show you guys one more time to get as clear view as possible. So we're going to put our crochet hook in through our first single crochet, making sure you go through both loops. You should have the front loop and the back loop from that first single crochet on your hook. You're then going to wrap your working yarn over your crochet hook, pull it back through that stitch and through the loop on your hook. And that's the slip stitch done. So for the rest of this row, we're going to be working with double crochet. So to do our double crochet, we're going to wrap our working yarn over our crochet hook. We're going to go in through the stitch. I'm putting my first double crochet through the same stitch that we did the slip stitch in. We're going to wrap and pull it back through that stitch. And once we've done that, we should have 3 loops on our crochet hook. So from here, we wrap our working yarn over our crochet hook, and we're going to pull it through these first 2 loops here on our crochet hook. So through 1, through 2. So then you should have 2 loops on your crochet hook. We're going to wrap our working yarn around our crochet hook again and pull through the 2 stitches. Pull through the 2 loops on our hook. So that's how we do double crochet. But before we can do our double crochet, we need to do a chain. So to do a chain, I will show you. I've got myself in a pickle here trying to show you guys how to do it. Hang on, let me fix my pickle because I've just got myself in a pickle. Right, so we'll go again from slip stitch. So hook in through our first single crochet, wrap working yarn over our hook, pull through the stitch, and then through the loop on our hook. This is tricky. So that's our slip stitch. Now we're going to chain 2, and to do that we're just going to wrap our working yarn over our hook and pull through the loop on our hook. That's chain 1, and then we just do that again. So wrap working yarn over the hook and pull through. So that's chain 2. Now we can do our double crochet. So we wrap once over our crochet hook. I'm going to put my crochet hook back through the stitch we did our slip stitch in. I'm going to wrap my working yarn over my hook and pull it back through that stitch. So we get 3 loops on our crochet hook. I'm going to wrap my working yarn over my hook again and pull through the first 2 loops on my hook. So instead of having 3 loops, we have 2 loops. And then I'm going to wrap my working yarn over my hook and pull through the last 2 loops. So from then we have our chain 2 and our first double crochet. Now this is something we're going to find useful. So I'm going to open my place holding clasp and I'm going to carefully slide that through the stitch of the double crochet we just did. So I know when I get back to that stitch marker, we're starting a new row. I'm going to show you how to do double crochet a couple more times. So we're going to wrap our working yarn over our hook. We're going to go into the stitch next to the one we had just done our double crochet in. We're going to wrap our working yarn over our hook and pull that back through. So we get 3 loops on our crochet hook. We're then going to wrap and pull through the first 2 loops. Then we wrap and pull through the next 2. I'm going to show you that one more time. So wrap into the stitch next to the previous one we went into. Wrap and pull the working yarn back through. So we get 3 loops on our hook. Wrap and pull through the first 2. Then wrap and pull through the second 2. So by now you should have done 1, 2, 3. By now you should have done 3 double crochets and a chain of 2. So now we're just going to continue doing 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around our hairband. And remember, we're going through the stitch, not the loop. So make sure you go through both loops of the little V's. So carry on doing 1 double crochet into each space all the way around until you get back to where you started. I've ran out of space on my editing software that I use for this, for filming footage. So this is what the finished piece is going to look like. For the rest of the tutorial, stay tuned for part 2. Yeah, thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed watching and following along. Part 2 coming very, very soon. Take care, thank you for watching, and if you want to see any more of my crochet or craft stuff, let me know in the comments. I'll have all of my socials in the description. So if you have any questions, you can message me there. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 2.